Hello, everybody, and welcome to 10X Engineered Materials webinar. It's going to be about our new category of blast media, superoxalloy abrasives. We're just going to wait about 5 minutes past the hour, and then we will kick it off and dive right in. Thank you for joining. This is Jake Vaillancourt. I'm a partner with 10X Engineered Materials. And just to let you know, we hear you, we see the chats, and we are just waiting until 5 past the hour to start the event. So sit tight. Hi, everyone. This is Jake Vaillancourt with 10X Engineered Materials. Just have 1 minute left until the live event starts. Thank you for your patience. Well, hello everyone, and welcome. This is a webinar about 10X engineered materials and our new category of blast media, superoxalloy. I'm sure you've all heard that before, but some of you may not have, so we're going to dive in now. Throughout the webinar, please feel free to type any questions that you have at any time into the chat box. We have people from 10X online who are going to mark them as questions. And at the very end, we're actually going to have a whole question and answer session. There'll be polls, there'll be all kinds of fun things. So any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns you have, just type them into the chat box and send them along, and we will address them either on that slide if it's relevant, or we'll address them in the Q&A. Without further ado, thank you everybody for joining. We have 96 people on live so far, and I expect some more to come in as we go. Also, if you can't stay for the whole meeting, don't worry. You will get a link with a recording to the meeting after the meeting. So thank you very much. All right, so our first slide is talking about what a superoxalloy is. So a superoxalloy is an engineered alloy of oxide minerals, which are created through a very highly controlled formulation and tempering process. This process creates a non-crystalline amorphous particle, which resists breakage under the stress of high-speed mechanical impact. Said more simply, it's a really strong particle that's been made with heat and then rapid cooling, and it has unique properties and characteristics that no other abrasive has, and it's an order of magnitude improvement in terms of the performance. We can do things that nothing else has been able to do in the mineral category of abrasives before. So it's really interesting, and we're going to slide right into the next slide here. There we go. All right, so 10X is essentially in every industry where you don't want corrosion. That's the simplest way is, can I use 10X here? Well, do you want corrosion there? No? Then you're probably using an abrasive, and you're probably using some sort of coating system to protect that asset. So we have customers in the aerospace industry. We have bridge customers, bridge maintenance, fabrication, and powder coating. We have a tremendous, almost cult-like following in the powder coating industry. The powder coaters just love our product. We have customers in the food and beverage industry, both contractors and direct end users. Obviously, we have marine or shipyards, and we're doing work with the Navy as well. We're in oil and gas as well as pipeline, and we are in the rail yard and rail car maintenance industry. We're being used in tanks. We're being used in water treatment plants, and we're also being used on wind turbine towers. A lot of people say, oh, the blades. No, we're talking about the actual steel towers, the structural component. So that's where 10X is. Another way to think about it is, if you don't want corrosion there, you're probably using 10X. So there's quite a few benefits that come along by adopting a superoxalloy. And that's largely what we're going to be talking about today, is how to get these benefits. How do we actually save money? How do we improve safety? How do we get more performance with less resources, less labor, right? We all have been through a heck of a last really 18 months. COVID's been terrible. We're coming out of it in the US, and we are facing some challenges that we've never really had to face before. So the benefits of a superoxalloy really come from the fact that it's a formulated product. So there's no beryllium, there's no heavy metals, and it's a combination of mineral oxides which enhance the particle strength. And that enhanced strength is so important. It means that we're more efficiently delivering the energy in our blasting system. And that efficient delivery of energy is how we're able to do things that other abrasives just can't do. To go beyond that, we're also an amorphous particle. So there's no crystalline domains, there's no crystalline silica, there's no free silica whatsoever in our product. And our product also, because it has no crystals, there's no fracture plants. And traditional abrasives tend to break and form dust when they're being used for abrasive blasting. 10X particles aren't doing that. They're behaving differently. And this different behavior and this set of characteristics, it leaves you a incredibly beautiful, bright, almost a velvet-like finish that has the ideal profile for it actually getting better coating performance and also delaying flash rusting. We don't have embedment, and we don't have all these other contaminants that cause issues that are associated and honestly caused by the contamination in traditional mined abrasives. It's a manufactured product. It's just a step change for the industry. So let me just advance the slide. Lost my cursor. One of my helpers can advance the slide. I seem to have lost it. Thank you. Sorry about that. So we're going to talk just a moment about safety. The reason is, as a tenant at 10X, we are obsessed with safety. This is so important to us. We are a manufacturer, and it is incredibly important that not only we as a manufacturer keep our stakeholders, so our employees, our partners, our investors, our distributors, our customers safe, but we want to keep you safe as well. And we truly believe this. In everything we do, we lead with safety, and we have set a higher standard for worker and environmental safety. Just wasn't achievable with traditional abrasives until this was developed. So this really is an advancement in safety. And to speak a bit beyond that point, we have included, and I think that you can download the document now. Yep, there it is. I see it. This is super cool. I love this technology. You can download our health and safety analysis data right now. If you sort of look around, maybe where my face is, look down, and I think to the right or the left, you'll see a link there. You can download that document, and that document contains independently analyzed by third-party lab data that supports our very bold, very industry-leading, and just truly the advancement in safety. 10X products, we will not contribute to any health hazards associated with respirable free silica or beryllium. Our products can be safely disposed of by conventional methods, left on the ground, or even disposed of in water in most situations. There are always, you need to check your local regulations, but in most cases, you can dispose of it by these means. Of course, the coating that you're taking off, if you're doing something with lead in it, that may change it a little bit, and now we have to handle that differently. But the abrasive itself is completely safe and inert, not going to cause any environmental harm. So due to these safety improvements, 10X has cut down on customer costs associated with environmental and worker safety monitoring. And of course, that is specific to the customers, but there is an opportunity to bring dollar savings. Potentially lower insurance premiums might be able to be negotiated. You might get lower disposal costs. You may be able to optimize some of these monitoring costs because they don't have to be done as frequently when you're using an abrasive that's certified to be free of beryllium, silica, and the like. On the bottom here, it's a little bit less about safety, but it's about certifications, because we're always asked, well, how is this certified? And 10X is SSPC AB1 certified. Not compliant, but actually certified. It's also CARB approved, so California Air Resource Board. And if you look in your download roster, you can actually see the AB1 certification and the CARB information for anyone who needs that. It's right there in the documents as we're going. We're anticipating being added to the QPL or the mil spec approval, the mil A22262B this month. We're just waiting for that. All the tests have been submitted to NAVSEA, so we're anticipating that really any day now. We're also approved by the Department of Transportation for all of the states that are listed there, and there's quite a few, and then there's a number of states that don't actually require you to be approved by them, and just contact us or hit it in the question and answer, and we can respond to anyone who has a specific question. But in most cases, 10X has been proven beyond what's necessary to be used in just about any situation. If somebody could advance the slide for me. Thank you. I don't know why my advancing slide button disappeared, but I appreciate the help.
Your arrow key will work magic.
Okay. So we talked a little bit before about how 10x particles are amorphous, and we're delivering new benefits in surface prep. Well, this higher strength particle has some really interesting benefits. One of those is the fact that we have a higher pressure threshold. And what that really means is that we can blast at much higher pressures than traditional abrasives. And that's just something that other abrasives can't do. And you think, well, why would I want to blast at a higher pressure? Well, if you are blasting in a situation where you need to go faster, or you have a tougher coating than usual to remove, having that flexibility just gives you more options. And then, of course, if we're all looking for speed, we just want sheer production speed. Well, now we have that option. Because we have a stronger particle as well, most of our particles aren't breaking. And when particles break, like garnet, which is a mined product, they are pulverizing and immediately becoming dust, some of which is respirable. And there's obviously visibility challenges there. But because we are able to blast at a higher pressure and use less particles per square foot, we're actually saving you money while delivering more energy, which helps with difficult coatings. And we can also outperform other abrasives like aluminum oxide and silicon carbide that are much harder than 10x without causing damage to the substrate. So all of these are really neat benefits. And instead of going through the whole slide, I'm just going to mention that these particles are tempered for the toughness and impact strength. And I'm actually going to let you guys see a short video right now that shows how this product behaves. I am attempting to mute. Don't have my cursor. Back. This is our first time using the software, and it is very sophisticated. But we did get back on. So that video essentially showed you a massive difference between the dust that's generated when blasting at high pressure with 10x versus a mined abrasive. That particular one was a nickel slag. So one of the other benefits that is really important to our customers, our end users, our asset owners, is how we're getting this cleaner profile. Again, our particles are so strong that instead of embedding when they hit and breaking up, they're bouncing off, which leaves you with a clean, properly prepared surface. And when you have no embedment, you don't have salts, you don't have residues left behind, you're actually going to get higher adhesion. And in this particular example, what's really neat about this is if you look on the far left, you can see this is an asphalt milling bit, and it's made of a very strong metal. It's tungsten carbide. And when this was blasted with silicon carbide, they previously were getting bond failures somewhere between 5,000 and 8,000 PSI. After blasting for only 10 minutes with 10x, which reduced their surface prep time a huge amount, we were able to increase the part strength by 125%. So the bond didn't actually fail. The tungsten carbide tip cracked. It broke at 18,000 PSI because the bond was so much stronger after blasting with 10x. And it's not that the bond itself is stronger, it's just able to do its job properly. When you properly prepare the surface, your coating system is not going to have a failure. Think of it this way. Coatings don't really fail, surfaces do. And if you prepare them with a superoxalloy abrasive, you're not going to have surface failure, which lends itself to longer time and longer service life. Another really important piece of information that everybody wants to know about: how and why does this work? It's not magic. It's not an additive chemistry. 10X's products actually reduce they increase the amount of time that you get after blasting until you need to reblast because of flash rusting. And there's a few reasons why that happens, and I'm not going to go too technical into the science behind it. Instead, we're just going to talk about if you do a simple test, which this customer did to verify our claims. They blasted with 10X on the far right. They blasted with garnet towards the middle of the panel, and on the far left panel, they blasted with a copper slag product. After 3 days, 10X was the only part of the panel that didn't have corrosion or rust forming. And this results in real dollar savings. It's reducing rework, and we're avoiding the failure of inspections, and we're actually being more efficient with our time, right, which drives higher profits. So this is important to note, and we actually have a poll up right now, and it's very interesting. I can see, is flash rusting a problem in your current operation? And so far, 78% of the folks who've answered have said it's a daily challenge. Actually, 82%, it's going up. So everyone's saying it's either a daily challenge or a weekly challenge, and a couple have said it's a monthly challenge. And so far, I guess we don't have anybody in Arizona or out in the desert, but nobody said we're in a desert and we don't have this problem. So I think maybe even there, they get some condensation overnight, that sort of thing. It can create a problem there. We actually have a couple of customers that have stopped running dehumidification units in tanks because they've switched to 10X. So the difference isn't a little difference. It's just an order of magnitude improvement. And this is one of those results where once you experience this, you're never, ever going to want to deal with another abrasive again. It's kind of like going from, an economy car to a Ferrari. You're tainted. You're like, oh, why would I ever want to go back to that economy car if I can drive this beautiful car down the road and enjoy all that? Except with the 10X, the difference is you're actually getting the value of the economy car and the performance of the supercar. So it's almost too good to be true, but this is just a wonderful, wonderful result that we see everywhere we go. All right, that slide, there we go. One of the bigger benefits to 10X is actually in the simple, well, what can it do? Instead, the question is, what can't it do? Some of our demo challenges, we actually, we'll challenge people, come out, and if we can't take your polymer-based coating off, we'll give you $500. We've never had to pay anybody $500 in that challenge. And really, we don't expect that we would. We're not in business to hand out money. We're in business to manufacture an ultra-high performance, ultra-safe abrasive. And our abrasive is able to cut through coatings that other customers and contractors have reported. It's not possible. This particular example is phenomenal. We showed up, we were there to do a general demo, and they wanted us to get the heck out of there. They didn't want to deal with us. So they pulled out a paint rack knowing that no other abrasive would take this off. It just doesn't come off. And the guys started going, and it was funny. Their English wasn't so good until this multiple layers of coating came off. And then all of a sudden they started yelling at us in complete perfect English, hold on, don't go anywhere. And they went and got the owner of the company to pull them out and show them what it could do. And of course, now this is a very loyal customer of 10X's. So these are the sorts of things that our product can do. The traditional abrasives just can't do this. It's phenomenal results, and we'd love for you to see this for yourselves. I've got paper slides here, and I'm just advancing as we go. All right, so on the left-hand side, we're talking about how this is a high-efficiency product. And when we say a high efficiency, we mean each particle of our product is actually delivering the energy that's needed to do the work. And when you compare our products to any other abrasive, your consumption in terms of pounds of abrasive per square foot blasted is much lower. And this example is just wild. You can see on the top that they use 50 pounds of copper slag, and they're only able to finish about a quarter of the tank, a little bit less than that, with the copper slag. And the same setup with the same blaster, just changed to 10X. We were able to blast the entire rest of the tank with 50 pounds of 10X. And you can also see, you look carefully at that, you can see it's a much nicer finish. It was faster, cleaner. Everybody was just blown away. And also the dust. It's always fun to do demos with 10X because it's just, the product sells itself once you see it. Now on the right-hand side, what we're doing here is showing you how a higher end abrasive, aluminum oxide, is just unable to be used effectively to clean powder coating. This particular part is a part that powder coaters use to run their parts through an oven and get the powder coating on. So over time, of course, they end up with just an unbelievable amount of coating thickness on these parts. Well, this customer had a couple hundred of these parts to clean a day, and their process before involved putting it into an expensive and really dangerous chemical. I think it's methylene chloride. A lot of people have different names for it, but that's essentially the base chemical. They fail the coating, and then they have to blast it on top of that to clean it off. There is an alternative, which is to run it through an oven, but again, that takes time. Now that oven's down, you can't use it for production, which makes you money. You're now having to clean the part, which costs you money. All bad stuff. Instead, we're able to take this part in, blast it with 10X. We can clean the whole thing in 20 seconds, and we're done. And we're back in business, back to making money. With the aluminum oxide, without doing all that pre-processing stuff that costs you a lot of time and money, you're going to sit there for 2.5 minutes, and you're only going to get an area done that's about the size of your hand. So it's just an order of magnitude increase in your productivity. Of course, you're decreasing your abrasive consumption, and we can do jobs that no other abrasive can do. So now we're just going to pivot here a bit. If there's any questions that have come up that you need me to answer, Elena, now's a great time before I jump in. Okay, I'm getting the go ahead. 10X addresses all kinds of challenges that we all face in the surface prep industry. So we're operating now in an environment, unfortunately, where manpower is a challenge. We've seen it in the trucking industry. We've seen it in even electricians. So I heard a customer today telling me they can't get electricians at any price. So we're having to operate essentially with less manpower and still do just as much or more work. How are we going to do that? Well, you need to bring tools to the job that allow your existing manpower that you do in fact have to be more productive. That's the only way you're going to solve that problem. 10X does that. We, of course, are working in an environment now where environmental compliance and our regulations around environmental safety, worker safety, are just becoming more and more challenging. And 10X, with its totally clean safety and environmental scorecard, is really one of the few options left in this industry where you just don't have to worry about your safety. It's not going to be a problem. Most of the other abrasives on the market have either one or multiple problems where you may have real costs in terms of compliance, monitoring, and cleanup. So yeah, why would you even want to go there? Even if 10X performed the same as those other abrasives, you're actually going to gain just on those safety and environmental compliance points. This is a big one. Speed sells, obviously. Consistently getting your jobs done on schedule or even ahead of schedule is really important. And 10X, if you go through the process that we're about to outline, will get you there every time without fail. It's as reliable as it gets. Minimizing our asset out of service time is so important for the military, for the Navy, and for our Marine customers and our rail customers especially. That is something that is just so important to their operations. And if we do not have to re-blast because we're not fighting flash rusting, by the way, the results of that poll are complete now. 63% said that this is a daily challenge. 17% said it's a weekly challenge, and everybody else was in there. We do have a couple customers in the desert, apparently, so good to know 8% of you are in the desert. You don't have to deal with that. Just managing that is a huge improvement for your operation. It makes life easier. Getting to a level of dust in your environment where you're not needing to set up expensive containment, vacuuming out things. I mean, it's just when you're using 70, 80, 90% less abrasive, you have that much less cleanup to do, and you have that much less containment to worry about. And of course, blast quality and conformance with inspection standards is so important. We can't not mention that. So that's in here. You're going to get the highest quality we've ever seen with blasting with a superoxalloy. Excuse me. And you're going to get unbelievable praise from your inspectors if you're blasting with 10X correctly. It's just an incredible profile. Everybody loves it. And the coating systems love it too, of course. So this is what everyone's been waiting for. This is our performance improvement process, PIP. What is it about? Why are we talking about it? And why are we here? Well, it's because we've had customers who've tried our product and they've come back to us and said, hey, it worked really well when you were here, but once you're gone, it's not working. Obviously, something is odd. Why would we hear that? Well, what we've learned is that we need basically a standardization, a process that people can follow without anyone from 10X being there, without any subcontractor having to come in, and without you having to do a whole ton of expensive training and certification. We've actually had customers ask us, can we get 10X certified? We don't do that. We're not doing that. Certification costs money. Instead, what we're going to do is arm you so that you have the information and the know-how to be effective and more productive and profitable with our product than anything else on the market. And it's going to take you no more than a few minutes and basically a quick orientation. And this is our process. We're talking about reviewing existing conditions. Existing conditions include everything from the substrate, the coating, your profile needs, to the compressors you're using, how you're using them, your technique, your nozzle type, sizes, metering valves. It sounds like a lot, but I can get in a 2-minute conversation that information figured out, and then we're immediately into optimization training. Again, 5-10 minutes, and this is the point, Elena, where if we can get the optimization guide out right now, we'll show you what that looks like. We have a standardized guide that's just been made available in your download folder in this presentation. It shows you what these things look like. These are self-guided documents. We use these and our customers are successful every single time. And whenever we get a call for technical support, whether we're doing it virtually, which is very common now, or if we're actually there on site, we're finding something in that checklist, which is essentially what it is, a checklist, was missed. So it sounds so basic, but following this procedure avoids any issues. And if you follow this procedure, you do this with any abrasive, you're probably going to boost your performance. Do it with 10X, and you're going to laugh at why did we even use this product before? Why did we use coal slag or garnet or any of these traditional abrasives? They just can't come close. It's a massive upgrade. Of course, we do talk about implementation of best practices. That is ideally a virtual conversation where we're showing you how to not only get these gains, but make sure that your procedures and your techniques are optimized so that you're maximizing your return on the investment into the product. Excuse me. The last step really is just verifying the long-term benefits and then taking those benefits to everybody that is in the organization that can actually gain something from those benefits. So we're rolling it out to different sites, or are we taking the standard process or performance improvement process to other business units that would benefit from this, whatever it may be. That's really the last step. This whole process can be done in under 30 minutes, and it can save you what you would spend in 30 days in that 30 minutes. So it's just a tremendous investment of a tremendously small investment of your time with a tremendously large investment in terms of return on your dollar savings. And of course, it does help with safety as well. So now we're moving on to examples of customers, real world customers who have actually followed this process to the T with us. Now, most of these customers have done this without us being there on site. One of them has done this with us being on site. We are available, obviously, for large projects where you do need additional technical support to get started. We call it initial startup assistance. Of course, that's a service we can provide, and our distributors can provide it as well. But most of the time, it's not needed. with our standardized process. It's just not necessary. This customer reduced their consumption by 60%, and we're talking 60% of the abrasive, meaning the number of pounds that they were using just by switching the abrasive and following our process. So that's 60% savings right there on the landfill bill. More than that on your cleanup costs. And they've also increased their productivity by over half. Their blast hold times are now measured in a matter of weeks instead of hours. And in some situations, they're not even having to build containment where they used to build containment. So this shipyard is also on the western half of our country, which is pretty far from our factory. And even then, they are saving dollars for every pound of abrasive they're using. They are saving real money over a product that was available locally. Now, mind you, our abrasive is manufactured in Indiana, and it has to be shipped out there. So the cost to serve a customer was a little bit higher there. But even then, the product is so efficient when you follow that standard PIP process that they were able to produce significant savings. And this customer's been with us for a while now. This is one of my favorite examples. This is a smaller customer. KinetiX does not just help the massive companies out there, although that's where a lot of our customers are coming from is heavy industry. We're also working in the custom coating world. Our product is such a high-end profile that we're delivering that custom powder coaters who essentially are doing art with metal are using our product, and they don't want to use anything else. It's absolutely amazing. It's so rewarding to work with people in this industry. Of course, we get pictures all the time like this. This is my favorite. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'll say it. I'll admit it. This is a custom powder coater who is using KinetiX's Epix abrasive product line. They're now getting over 10 recycles with one batch of the KinetiX. They're getting incredible cleanliness. They're getting much higher adhesion values, which we talked about before with that asphalt milling bit. They're also getting a higher quality profile and finish, all while going a lot faster. The most unique thing about this particular example is that this company's now been able to enter markets that they weren't able to get into before because their quality wasn't high enough. Yeah, their coating support, they weren't able to get there. And by switching this abrasive and going through our PIP process, they were able to enter a new market for them that's more profitable. So now we actually have a video that shows a little bit of what their blasting looks like, and we'll let you take it away. So that's Rich King, Ragz to Rich's powder coating.
Velvet when it comes out of the cabinet. I've had people say, is that powder coated already? And I say, no, that's just our profile. That's the profile that we get off KinetiX, and it's super clean. It's got a nice flow to it. We don't get a lot of high spots. It's taken our prep time and cut that down. When we use KinetiX, we pretty much pull it out of the cabinet, air it off really good, obviously with clean, dry air, hang it, mask it, shoot it, and we've got a winner.
Rich has made himself available through Facebook. He's on all the Facebook forums, one of the biggest fans of KinetiX, and we're a huge fan of you, Rich. Thank you for doing what you do. We love your work. We love your son Jack's work as well. And just a shout out to Rich. We appreciate the support and the partnership. So now we're talking about seeing KinetiX in a bit of a different area. Now we're talking about indoor blasting, but in some of the heaviest industry that we work with, which is the rail industry. We have numerous customers in the rail industry who are kind of taking it over by storm because our product is able to reduce consumption, over 8 times in many cases, and we're able to increase efficiencies where, a single silo of the abrasive being filled with the KinetiX abrasive is now doing double the work. So where we're at is on the left-hand side. This is a rail car company, rail car maintenance facility that KinetiX was able to double the number of rail cars with that one silo can complete just by changing the abrasive. They're also getting a nicer profile, much lower dust, and it's just the blasters love it. If you take it away, they run out or something, and they throw a bag of slag that's been sitting there forever back in. you'll hear feedback of what are you doing to me? You know, what is wrong with you? Don't you understand? This is my, you know, this is my thing. This is my jam. Don't take that from me. So blasters really get hooked on the product, which is a good thing because it's better for them. You know, they'll be safer and more comfortable. On the right-hand side, this is obviously not a rail car, but actually a locomotive, which is super cool. I thought when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a locomotive operator, and you know, getting the chance to actually work with these companies that are doing this type of work has just been so rewarding, almost a childhood dream come true. So another railcar company that's primarily working on locomotives had been using crushed glass abrasives before they learned about superoxalloy from 10X. And they were also using a higher pressure system than what I would call standard, which is fine. You know, they felt that that was necessary, and to get the job done, it probably was without a superoxalloy abrasive. But now we've gone to normal pressure blasting, you know, 100, 110 PSI at the nozzle, and we've increased their speed, and we've reduced their abrasive consumption by a factor of 8. Now, I know that this sounds just incredible. You hear these kinds of numbers, and you're like, it's unbelievable. So I'm going to sit back, I'm going to mute my mic, and I'm going to actually let you see a video of blasting a rail car that we have. Oh, that was so cool. I love that video. Thank you for everybody who helped putting that together. So now we're going to talk a little bit about garnet. Everybody wants to know, well, we've moved on from what we consider traditional abrasives, and they did consider, a lot of customers anyways, didn't consider garnet to be a traditional abrasive. We do, because garnet is mined. It comes from the earth as it is, and you're not able to have a choice in what it is. It just is, and we're taking it out of the earth, putting it in a bag, and calling it abrasive, which is fine. We can certainly, companies can do that, and they do, but we have a better solution, which is to manufacture a product that is specifically designed and made to do the job that's being asked to do. Mother Nature doesn't always do the best job for us. Just look at airplanes, right? Airplanes aren't made out of wood anymore. They're made out of metal. There's a reason for that. So optimizing around this is just, it makes sense. We want to talk a little bit about the fact that our product is made from a liquid state. It's a tempered product. It's really, really strong product, and it's faster even against what is considered the best garnet in the industry. We witnessed a test that was done by two massive major independent blasting and painting contractors just a few weeks ago, and these are the results. Unfiltered, I can't mention them by name because they want to stay private. They look at our product as actually a strategic advantage. They don't really want their competition to know that they're adopting the 10X products. But what we saw and what they saw was 108% faster on blasting with rust removal using their garnet versus 10X. And this was their best blaster was on the job. Obviously, they wanted to see what it could do. And then when we did the same test on 20 mils of epoxy, we were 120% faster. 10X just, again, leaps and bounds ahead of the industry when it comes to speed, efficiency, or cost per square foot, or safety, and they saw that. We actually have been working with a gentleman from MES, one of 10X's distributor partners, and Mr. Baker had previously been with a well-known garnet company, and he's now converted. He doesn't sell garnet now; he sells 10X, and he actually left me a message last night or this morning and asked us to share it with you. So we're going to go ahead and share that right now.
Jake, Greg with MES. I promised you an update, and I meant to leave you a message last night, so let me speed this up for you real quick. I wanted to say to you, my friend, after a decade of testing different products in the field, you name it, I've probably had my fingers on it, the 10X keeps yielding the best dividends no matter what the price per pound is. The majority of my experience has been with alluvial garnet for about a decade, and then the past 2 years I have been focused and used the 10X primarily for good reason, and the reason is it keeps yielding the best benefit for the customer. So I wanted to say this to you, not to boast about tenure or to hurt anybody's feelings that's manufacturing or importing alluvial garnet. I'm saying this because it's true. That's what the industry is experiencing. I can't thank you enough for everything you guys are doing and making this easier for us, being manufactured right here in Indiana, by the way. Love that. In closing, I'll just say, I hear a lot, I see a lot about optimizing the equipment. That is not as big of a challenge as I think the perception can be. I have metered your product down to 3/4 of a turn with a micro valve, blasting a 53-foot long boat. I've also had to run it at 3 or 4 turns on a TV2 valve for other, I guess, circumstances is the word I'm looking for. Every job's different. But at the end of the day, Jake, the team we have here over at MES, if you have a client, whether they're blasting a bicycle rim or a Navy ship, we're here to help you. We're here to help them. It doesn't matter how big, how small. Our DNA is help them, and the rest comes, So you're making it easy for us on that end of the fence. On the other side, let me ask you one thing. Can you please not change anything for a little while, and let us show more people as fast as we can. You already know you've got a good product. The more people we can share that experience with, the better for the industry. So thank you for what you're doing. Take care, guys. You're a pleasure to work with.
It was so helpful to hear. Thank you, Greg. Greg's been in the industry for over a decade, and I know you're very respected, Greg. We've worked side by side with you now, and we really appreciate that. You recognize when a new product comes along and challenges your assumptions, you accept those results, and we just can't thank you enough for championing and being a brand advocate and a strong supporter of 10X. So before we go to the next slide, and I promise this is the last slide, finally, we actually had somebody ask a question to see the results from the railcar blasting video. So we're going to show that up on the screen, and I'll explain it right now.
Okay, so I can't get it up on the screen because we can't scroll.
Okay.
But I put them up on here if you want to just
Okay, I'll read them off to you. So the results, the video that you saw, we were using a number 8 nozzle. It was 100 PSI nozzle, and the 10X was blasting at 783 square foot per hour, and our consumption was 1.1 pounds per square foot on that rail car. And this was not the locomotive, this was actually the rail car. So thank you for that question. And if we can put the presentation back up, great. And like I said, I promised last slide. So I usually like to refer to this slide as the why buy. It's the summary before we dive into the questions. And we've got a lot of questions. I see Paul, Dan, Brad, David, Denise, Josh, John, Solomon, and Ricardo, Elaine. We're going to get to all your questions. But before we do, this page, I'm going to leave it up actually for the Q&A. And partner and actually the chief technology officer, the inventor of the product, is also going to join us. His name is Dr. Stephen Ricci. And Steve, if you can, what is it called? Go on stage? Click the button that says go on stage. Steve, welcome. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yes. I think we have a black screen for your video, but that's okay. We'll just keep going. So one of the questions we got today, Steve, is how is 10X different from glass? And I think that is a phenomenal question, and there couldn't be a more qualified human on the planet to answer that question than you. So please take it away.
So 10X is a glass of sorts. It is a rock glass as opposed to a silicate glass like a bottle glass or a window glass. Glass is also regular crushed glass or bottle glass is also amorphous, but because it's made in a different environment, our one, it's formulated differently, and two, it's processed differently. Our abrasive is made from more rock-like minerals, and it is cooled so quickly that it just creates a different particle material morphology, as Jake described. It's uniformly strong. It's like the difference between tempered glass and regular glass. Tempered glass is stronger, 4 to 5 times stronger. And we have a similar thing going on here, just by virtue of formulation and the way that it's made.
Thank you, Steve. Another question was, how do we compare this product with the SpongeJet system in terms of cost per square foot and speed? I don't know, honestly, what the cost per square foot with the SpongeJet system is. I'm not that familiar with it. However, what I can say is I've seen the SpongeJet system working on a difficult to remove coating in a water treatment plant, and the SpongeJet was moving around 20 square foot an hour, and our 10X abrasive was blasted. It was a KinetiX 2070 was the product, and we were blasting around 90 square foot an hour. So obviously none of these are killer numbers. It's not amazing speed compared to, say, what we are able to do on that rail car, but we're talking about 300 to 400 mils of very thick coating, and getting anywhere above that 5 square foot an hour, faster than the speed of taking off with a chisel, was impressive for that particular contractor. And we got another question from Dan, who asked, does the abrasive media cause heat and warping when used when dry blasting a classic car? And Steve, if you have an opinion on this, I'd love to hear it, but here's what I tell people all the time. Use the Epix MP, the moderate profile product, and what you do is you blast from left to right, and you do your swath, and then you go to the bottom of that panel, and you go from right to left, and then you go back to the middle, and you do a path there, and then you can go to the bottom, and you just keep moving around so you don't heat it up in any one spot. Any abrasive, no matter what it's made of, can create some friction. But Steve, you might have a better idea on that than I do.
No, I agree with what you just said. There are steps you can take to minimize the heat buildup, but any abrasive is going to build up heat on a spot. It's just time and friction, dwell time and friction. And if the dwell time is too high in any one area, it will get warm. That's why they use, soda blasting and other things on high-end cars, because they're afraid that they may warp it. But there are ways to avoid warping it and to increase your productivity.
Okay. We got a question that was from ProBlast in South Florida. So to answer that question, we have a stocking distributor in MES. Sorry. MES is in the Southeast, and they, I think, are the closest stocking distributor to you. So we can put you in contact with them at the end of the presentation. We have stocking distributors all over the country, and you will see, I believe, a link at the end of this presentation that actually gives you sort of that little map or the list of distributors where you can see where they are. So great question. How does 10X performance compare to steel grit? So that's definitely a hot topic and a loaded question. We have had a number of companies switch from steel grit to 10X, and all of them for different reasons. You know, why you're using steel grit really is different for different industries. But one of the customers that recently switched is a customer that is manufacturing steel members and structural steel for the wind turbine industry. So I know their reasons for switching were largely around speed, and we're able to improve the speed of their process quite a bit by following our PIP process. Just a little bit of work on that, and they were going so much faster. But Steve, what would you have to say about, you know, how we compare to steel grit performance-wise? I'm assuming they mean speed and profile and cleanliness of blast when they talk about how to compare it.
Yeah, so the advantages of steel grit or steel abrasives, one, the density is really high, particles are heavy, so they get into the coating at a similar blasting pressure. They will get into the coating quite well. The challenge is that a lot of our customers that I've interacted with face are with the finish. Steel grit embeds. It initiates flash rusting, and some of the customers have problems with their inspections. Some of them have problems with pinhole or protrusion through their coating and have to do coating repair, and that will never happen with our abrasives. So you know, the surface is always clean and always consistent. But you know, the other advantage of steel is that it's extremely recyclable. We are recyclable. We'll never be as recyclable as steel grit or steel shot, simply because of the way steel is, you know, the material that it is. But there are situations where there are clear advantages to using superoxalloy.
That was really helpful, Steve. Thank you. So I'm trying to use our fancy technology here to go through these questions. Before we answer this next question about, it doesn't say the name of the person, I'm sorry, but I will get to it. People are asking where to buy it and all that, and we'll get into that in a second. We just dropped our safety data sheets for the Epics and KinetiX because that was requested. Somebody requested that. I'm sorry, I hit the button, so your name flashed off the screen. Sarah. Okay, Sarah, you have that now. It's available as a download. And of course, if you can't get it through the software, just go to our website, reach out to us, we'll get it for you. And further, we're about to push out as a download what we call Experience the 10X Breakthrough. All it is a list of distributors who have a demo scheduled either this month or next. And some of them have actually said, we will come to you if you're in such and such a state. They're ready to go. They're ready to rumble now. So check that out. And I'll give a call out to Already. And Greg, thank you, Greg. You are letting me know that you have locations in Florida. I didn't know that, so I just learned something. Look at that. So Already has locations in Florida, and Already has got a open house, I think it's called, or demo day this Friday in Corpus Christi, Texas. So check that out in the download that was just sent out, and look out for that. Now, Steve, a question we have on the screen here. So what is the price difference between Garnet and Black Beauty? What I can say is coal slag is typically an inexpensive per pound abrasive, but a very expensive cost per square foot abrasive, typically more so than even Garnet. Garnet, I'm not sure where this customer is from, so I don't know the answer to what does Garnet or Black Beauty cost in your particular market. But my answer always when it's, you know, how is 10X compare? Well, 10X costs less per square foot than any of these abrasives. You follow our PIP that we outlined today and contact us if you're not clear on that after the optimization sheet that you go through, and we'll help you get those results. They're very easy to achieve, and you're not having to get all new equipment to make it happen either. This customer also asked, how is it packaged? It's a great question. 10X is available in 50-pound paper bags, 2,000 and 4,000-pound super sacks, and one person asked me, well, why is it a 1 and 2 ton super sack? It's made in the USA. We're not made, and we're out of the country. We're not importing this. It's made in Wabash, Indiana, and I'm sure some folks from our factory are on this call, and we couldn't be more proud than to have you on board. And we're very proud to be making this in America. So that's why we're following those 1 and 2 ton packaging types. It is also available in bulk pneumatic trucks. Everybody that's been on here that asks questions about packaging, or a couple of people asked, is it available in pneumatic? Yes, it is. We have multiple customers buying it in pneumatic trucks. That's no problem. And then lastly, where do we purchase it? Again, at the end of this, you'll get a link. I believe it will actually direct you right to that website where it shows all the different places and companies that you can get it through. We have an extensive distributor partnership throughout the United States and Canada. So just check that out. And if you're having trouble finding a place to buy it from, just call us, and we can, we have a good list of where it's stocked, so we can help you figure that out. All right, let's see here.
I think we've got time for like one more question.
Okay, let me look through the questions here. Okay, this is a fantastic question. You discussed the benefits, but what will the difference of price be between glass and 10X? With the savings that you're going to get in terms of the number of pounds, right? That customer that switched from glass is using at least 8 times less pounds per square foot. So their cost per square foot is actually lower using the 10X. The price difference, again, I don't know where you are. If you're in Hawaii, it's probably more expensive. I couldn't believe what some abrasives cost in Hawaii. I've been working with a couple companies in Hawaii in the past few weeks and helping them get 10X out there, which we do have 10X available in Hawaii now. So cool story. That's the best way I think I can answer that question.
Jay, can I add to that?
Yeah, please do.
So you've done a good job of talking about the performance improvement process and getting the abrasive dialed in. Every abrasive has a sweet spot for a given job. Nozzle size, nozzle pressure, nozzle distance, metering valve setting, and feed rate of the abrasive, and blast pressure. There is a place in there where the abrasive is going to do best in that job. When you hit that point with 10X abrasives, we call it the magic. The difference between the performance near that sweet spot and other settings on the blast system, which are not difficult to change, it is remarkable. And that's why when customers ask about the cost per pound of the abrasive, well, that's certainly important. But if you're doing 5, 6, 8 times the work per pound of abrasives, then the more expensive one is cheaper. And that's sort of the dilemma we face all the time. Yes, we're more expensive than glass. We're more expensive than slags. But at the end of the day, you will be ordering far less frequently, and you will be getting much more done. And it will be approved, and you won't have to redo it. That's where the difference is. It's not in the cost per pound. It's in the economics of your operation.
All right. Thank you, Steve. I think that was really, really helpful. The other question we have is, what's the recyclability of 10X to garnet, black beauty, steel shot, steel grit? Will it last 2, 3, 4 times as long? Steel shot, no. Steel shot is a metallic abrasive. 10X is a non-metallic abrasive. There's no ferrous material in our product at all. Have we replaced steel shot and grit? Yeah, absolutely, because we have some serious advantages, especially in certain applications. Garnet, we're seeing, I think, on the order of 3 to 5 times more recyclable than garnet. There's different versions of garnet out there, different sizes, of course. Black beauty, I see black beauty be able to be recycled once, and then it's essentially a powder, so it's hard to compare to that. Just look at the dust. right? How dusty is your abrasive when you're blasting? And compare that to 10X. Think of the dust as your visual sign of evidence that you're wasting a tremendous amount of energy and abrasive, and that means your abrasive is not doing its job. You saw how low dust 10X was, and that was, where a customer was using it for the first time. Imagine how much lower it gets once they've optimized that metering valve. Can this media be used in dry or wet in dustless blasting machines? Yes, we're in use in dustless blaster MMLJ pots, Greener Blast, Cleaner Blast, EcoQuip, Schmidt Amphi Blaster, Clear Blast. We're even being used in mixed media dry ice blasting machines with Cold Jet. Cold Jet actually recommends our product as well. So it works in all of those machines, and it works amazingly well. I mean, there's some videos on our YouTube channel of vapor blasting that just, every time I see it, it's like, wow, you have to see it to believe it. But that's what the demos are for. So check that out. Come see us live. The last question that I think we have time to answer is how 10X compares to dry ice blasting from a safety perspective. Steve, do you want to just hit on that real quick, and then we will wrap this up?
Sure. Dry ice blasting is it's a wonderful technology for cleaning surfaces, for removing dirt and grime, because the abrasive just disappears. There is no abrasive cleanup. Very effective in those applications. What it does not do is remove coatings and rust and corrosion. It won't get you to bare metal. That's one of the big reasons that Cold Jet developed their mixed media machine. Now, the technology is available to mix abrasives with dry ice, and it significantly reduces the amount of abrasive that you will need for that job, enables you to get to clean metal and remove coatings, and it suppresses dust dramatically. So if you're in the situation that calls for dry ice, then that's probably not an abrasive application. If you are in a situation where you're looking for that extra cleanliness and you need to remove a coating, then you can use mixed media, and it works really well.
Thank you, Steve. Well, I know we have probably 35, 40 more questions, and we're at a point where we need to end the webinar. We're over our time. We just want to say thank you to everybody, all of our stakeholders, our investors, our partners, our distribution partners, our employees in Wabash, Indiana, our everybody, OSHA, NAVSEA, California Air Resource Board. Shout out to Catherine. Thank you for helping us with that question for a customer yesterday. I know there are a lot of you are on here, and we've worked hand in hand with a lot of the regulatory agencies to bring this new technology to the market. It's really important to them that contractors understand the advantages, that they can essentially avoid a lot of these regulatory traps, or maybe not traps, but issues. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you so much for getting on here. We love every one of you. We love seeing your stories, photos of your work, videos. Just reach out to us. Anything you need, we're here to work with you. And we look forward to seeing you out at these demos this summer. Can't wait to meet you. Have a good day.